Huddle with paperplusoffice.co.nz, your local office supplies specialist, now open for business.
On the Huddle this evening, Cameron Slater from whaleoil.co.nz, editor of The Truth. Hello, Cameron.
Hello, Larry.
And we have Josie Pagani back with us. Hello, Josie.
Hello.
Josie, I'm coming to you first. Labour leader David Shearer has retained his leadership. Any surprise? Do you think this confirms Shearer through to the election? What do you say?
Well, I think hanging on to the leadership was the easy bit, really. I mean, good on him for doing it. David Cunliffe gets a fail again for not just coming out and saying very clearly to media before he went into that caucus, I am supporting the leader. He hasn't done himself any favours. But the problem for David Shearer now is that he's now got to sort out the caucus policy, the party organisation, the lack of fundraising, the membership drives, the list goes on. And one of the biggest problems they had post the conference last year was that conference voted to have a binding policy platform for the next election. Now, that means that conference this year and next year will decide what it is that those MPs fight the election on. And when you look at some of the remits that were passed at that conference, things like lowering the voting age or gender quotas on company boards, David Shearer is going to have his work cut out for him to really forge something, a policy platform that's going to be successful and popular with the public.
What do you see, Cam? There is a far-left campaign against him. You look at the blogs and I don't know what's going on here. Do you think David Cunliffe is still going to hang around?
If I was David Cunliffe, I wouldn't. He's displayed complete and utter cowardice in the whole way through his so-called tilt at the leadership. He never actually put his name officially forward, and then he weasels out, as Josie said, when asked to put some fairly clear statements. But Shearer can also hardly claim to be the emphatic leader of the Labour Party because he didn't even get a unanimous vote. He's only claimed an overwhelming majority. with one name on the ballot. I mean, this is North Korean type style voting, isn't it? When you got one name on the ballot. And then
Josie, no, it's democracy, Cam.
Korean democracy, North Korean. But you raise a good point, Josie, in terms of the policy. Let's have a look at the things that have made headlines in the last year for David Shearer. There was the beneficiary on the roof that didn't exist, but we needed to bash him, that the left wing then unhinged themselves over. Then you had the housing policy that didn't have a name or any numbers before Christmas that now has a name and has worse numbers afterwards. These are key policy planks or ideas that David Shearer hung his shingle on,
but I think
bombed.
But Cam, I think you'll find though that we know the housing policy whether you like it or not, and obviously I happen to like it. It appeals to your core Labour voter, your core Labour supporter like me. But that affordable housing policy has really resonated with people because they see their kids growing up and not being able to afford a house. I think Shearer's got off to a good start this year, but I think. Yeah, I'm reminded a little bit of a famous photograph during Gough Whitlam's era in Australia, which was the leader of the Labour Party, the deputy leader, sitting outside a room waiting for the party officials, the party leadership, to decide what their policy would be and what they'd be fighting the election on. And this is the so-called Australian faceless men. And don't forget, someone like Kevin Rudd, he didn't lose the support of the public. He lost the support of the faceless men in Labour.
And if you look at where Shearer's placed now, he's surrounded by people who are loyal to Grant Robertson. He's advised by people who are loyal to Grant Robertson. He has a party organisation, an activist base that is implacably opposed to him. You're quite correct that the conference is going to be quite astonishing in terms of setting down the policy platforms that then David Shearer is supposedly going to have to sell to Middle New Zealand.
But I tell you what, though...
And then just in terms of that, Josie, is the housing policy, although you say it resonates, I think the Greens actually gazumped Labour on a policy that's somewhat more sensible than numbers that are just written on the back of a napkin for Labour's policy. It's still balmy and crazy, and especially if you're sitting here in Auckland and watching these politicians trot out numbers that are farcical. And so it doesn't resonate in Auckland, and that's where they're going to run into some real problems.
Back in a moment, Cameron Slater and Josie Pagani on The Huddle. It's 15 to 6.
Larry Williams Drive with the business banking specialists at Westpac.
Back on The Huddle, Cameron Slater and Josie Pagani. Josie, we have Ngāpuhi leaders want to replace Titi Whai Harawira, at Waitangi. I see today she defied the wishes of tribal leaders and escorted the Governor-General onto to the marae, and there looks to be some trouble brewing at Waitangi. How do you see it? Some things never change.
I think the whole country wants to replace Te Whai Harawira. And this is a woman who, 20 years ago, she was jailed for 9 months for assaulting a mental health patient. The police once searched her house looking for a missing rocket launcher, for God's sake. I mean, this shows you what her reputation is. She's a playroom bully, and I think it shows also that, I've been up to Waitangi several times. I was up there a couple of years ago, tried to take my kids to the Waitangi Treaty House, and you had to pay if you're a foreigner. So you feel like Waitangi is dominated by this sort of royal family of wreckers and haters.
Well, no, it's dominated by radicals, Cam, and they've wrecked the show.
Well, they do wreck the show. They've turned Waitangi into Winetangi, and I'll tell you what, a whole lot of people are pretty sick of the carry-on, but it's really unfortunate. I was talking to one of my columnists the other day, Willie Jackson, about this, and he said, Cam, you've got to come to Waitangi. I said, I'm not going anywhere near Waitangi while Te Whai is throwing her weight around. He said, but it's 20 minutes of her screeching, and then everything else is great, and it's really good. And I said, unfortunately, though, that's the impression that we're given on television.
And we're all over it, really. I mean, Waitangi Day should be our July the 4th.
Exactly. It should be a celebration.
Fireworks and parties and barbecues and kapahaka celebrations. We should feel a real sense of national pride and celebrate what's good about our country and our people.
It won't happen. People are just sick of the hatred and the divisiveness, I believe. Anyway, issue number 3, Cam. Police are taking legal advice over a possible appeal of a sentence of discharge without conviction over a Gisborne sportswoman's drink-drive conviction. She was double the legal limit. What do you see in this?
Well, not one to get started on my hobby horse of name suppression.
Name suppression.
But, having got 9 convictions over that, but the law was changed. And this, from what I understand about this particular case, is that she in no way meets any of the extended thresholds of the changed law for even getting name suppression. Perhaps she might qualify on the discharge without conviction, but on the name suppression issue, there's absolutely no reason why she couldn't be named.
Well, I can't see. How the hell can you say she can be justified, or the judge can be justified in discharging without conviction? She was double the legal limit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not exactly a minor. It's not a minor misdemeanor, is it? And it sounds like, I mean, she's used the sports as a reason in her role in sports, but it's a hobby.
Sport.
It's a hobby, and look, if it's a hobby, well, look, I can't turn up to court and say, please don't name me. It might embarrass me at my cake decorating class.
But she's through her actions, she's smearing other sportswomen in the region and in the area through her poor behaviour. I mean, Colin Carruthers was double the limit. He didn't have name suppression. Robin Malcolm. We've got a councillor or a local board member in Howick who's double the legal limit. This is not something you get name suppression over.
I mean, there are reasons for having name suppression, Larry, and they're usually if you need to protect the victim, like in a sexual abuse case, or if you're going to prejudice another trial. And we've seen that in rape cases with the Louise Nichol case, where the officers were another trial was before the Louise Nichols case. So there are all sorts of reasons, including the public reaction might be greater than the actual crime. So to be fair, we don't know all the details of this case, but it looks like I'd be very surprised if the police don't take this up. Actually, it appeal it because it just looks a bit dodgy.
Thank you, Josie Pagani, and thank you, Cam Slater and Josie Pagani. Murray Deaker to follow.